I think one of the clear things that people often feel intuitively is our societies are materially very successful, but perhaps many social failings. You know, increasingly I think what people worry about in our societies is the social development. And there are all sorts of worries, whether it's drugs or teenage births or mental health or whatever it is, or violence. People often feel there's something going wrong in our societies and how consumerist we are. And I suppose, in a way, one way of encapsulating what we have to say is that we want to move from thinking about the quality of human life in terms of raising material living standards to dealing with the social environment, if you like, from the material environment to the social environment that we've now got to improve. And this slide just shows you a sort of range of social problems that are in the news all the time. And actually there are problems we've collected data on that Kate will be showing you later on. But things like teenage births and drug problems and overcrowded prisons and antisocial behavior, you know, all these things that come up in the news all the time. One of the really important points, I think often when people talk about these problems, they know they have a social gradient, by which I mean simply that they're more common in the poorest areas of our societies. Nearly always violence is highest in the poorest neighborhoods, and you know, most of the social problems, although they exist higher up in society, they're more common lower down. And very often people think this is because of poverty, absolute poverty, and try and explain it in terms of maybe bad housing or poor health in terms of air pollution or whatever it is. But I think there's a very important contrast that has to be made, and that is, if you look at income between societies, these rich societies that I started off with on the flat part of the curve, you remember I showed you initially, here's just part of that first graph, where again we've got life expectancy here, and we've got national income per person here, but no longer the poor tail of the distribution, just the rich countries. And there is no relationship at all between life expectancy and national income per capita. So countries like Norway and USA can be almost twice as rich as Greece and Portugal and Israel, not quite twice as rich, and it makes no difference to their standard of living. And this isn't because, you know, there's something silly going on with exchange rates. It's adjusted for what things cost in each society. So the ones to the right here can buy almost twice as much of everything as the ones on the left. So income apparently in the developed world no longer means very much. But if you look within any of these countries, you find these extraordinary social gradients, in this case in health. But if you looked at almost any social problem, you would see a similar social gradient. What this shows this is data from England and Wales, and it's electoral wards. Here are the most deprived electoral wards with very low life expectancy. You see a life expectancy of about 71.5. And here are the richest, the least deprived electoral wards with an average life expectancy for men and women of over 79. But look at the extraordinarily regular social gradient across all those levels of, different levels of deprivation or wealth, poverty. And you see the same thing if we showed you the American data looking exactly like this. And so income means something very important within our societies from what it does between them. And I think the implication is that actually within societies we're dealing with something like social position, relative income, status, something like that. It's no longer actually whether you have a bigger house or a better car or whatever. It's not that matters, it's how your living standards compare with others in your society, or how your social status compares with others in your society. Now, the question then arises, the road we want to take you down, is what happens when you pull out those social status differences or the differences in incomes, when you make them bigger or smaller, what implication does that have? And Kate's going to pick up the thread now and go on to show you those effects.